2021 was a bad year in various ways, but while the Earth was on fire, I was sitting at home playing various video games, and they brought me a lot of joy, and I feel like that's an experience I shared with a lot of people around the world. To clarify, this isn't a best of 2021 list because I don't usually play games the year they come out, I usually buy them a year or two after. It's just a weird quirk of mine. So the majority of the games on this list are games that are a year plus old, maybe even a decade old in some cases. Make no mistake though, I played a lot of games in 2021 and not all of them are on this list. For instance, I played Kingdom Hearts for the first time this year, but it's not on this list. Let me explain myself. If you let me explain myself! I have not played nearly as much of Kingdom Hearts as I have the other games on this list, so as of right now, it hasn't gotten as good as these other games. And that says more about them than it says about Kingdom Hearts. Again, it's very good, just not as good as these other ones. But I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's talk about the best games I played this year, in no particular order. Now, the first game that I want to talk about is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and if you've been paying attention for the past 6 months or so, you've noticed me using gameplay in the background of a lot of my videos, and I just think that this game is really neat. For those out of the loop, Konami hasn't been treating its IPs very well in the past 10 years or so, which has caused a lot of, prominent figures within the company like Hideo Kojima to go out and leave and create their own studios. Well, Koji Igarashi, one of the lead producers of the Castlevania series, is one of these people, and he left to make his own spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night, which ended up being Bloodstained. And given the fact that it's made by a Metroidvania veteran, this game is amazing. What I really love about this game more than anything is just the combat and all the things that you can do, all of the different ways that you can take out the various monsters and demons in this game. When you think of Castlevania, you may think, oh, Belmonts, whips, but this game has so many different weapon types. Of course there's whips, but there's one-handed swords, there's two-handed swords like claymores, there's guns, all sorts of things, knives, there's even these combat boots that you can use which basically turn you into Chun-Li. You can find these books all over the map which tell you about specific commands that you can use for different weapons, and they're basically like fighting game inputs which unlock new moves for different weapons, and it just changes everything. It's pretty cool. The shard system is excellent as well. Essentially, you can kill certain demon types and unlock their powers, and those manifest in offensive abilities or passive abilities, depending on what type of demon it is. And it's really interesting to see a demon and theorize about what kinds of powers that demon is going to unlock for you. It's really cool. I just think that it's really cool. There's a lot to love about this game. It's fun, it's charming, but I'm trying to go quickly so I can cover as many as I can, so let's move on, but play Bloodstained. The next game I want to talk about is Guilty Gear Strive, and this is a different one for me because I've never been a huge fighting game player, I've never been a very competitive person, but Guilty Gear was able to bring out my competitive spirit. What hooked me immediately was the strong character designs, and from the beginning I was drawn to Potemkin and Maze designs and just started playing them, and they're still some of my favorite characters even now. Comparing them to the designs from the previous games, it's clear to me that they were trying to highlight some of the most essential, most recognizable aspects of these characters and blow them up, and it really worked in my opinion. The game is flashy, everything looks great, everything looks cool. I think this is probably the best looking fighting game that I've ever played. I think it looks better than Fighters, just my opinion. This is definitely a beginner-friendly fighting game. The commands are simple and most characters don't have a ton of moves. Just the vibe I get is any good fighting game, generally, the game will open up to you the more and more you learn about the way that it works. In a sense, it is easy once you start out, but it only gets more and more complex. Also, I gotta admit, as much as I don't like the, ArcSys lobbies, I really do like what they did with the ranked system in this game. The whole floor system really gives you a tangible method of seeing how much you improve and where you are compared to other players, and just the idea of climbing a tower like some sort of anime protagonist, just really cool thematically, and I love it a lot. The music is fantastic as well. You're probably hearing it right now, and I definitely think it should have been at least nominated for Best OST of the Year at the Game Awards. Come on, what are you doing, Jeff? But Yeah, it's very unique, has a great sound. I love it a lot. Anyway, I've said my piece. I just want to leave you with one little thing I edited this summer when I was really into the game. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. When I first decided to buy Valkyria Chronicles, I did so under the assumption that it was just Fire Emblem with guns, and I was very wrong. It's very much its own thing, and if you've never played it before, let me explain to you why you should. Valkyria Chronicles is a strategy game that understands something that a lot of mediocre strategy games don't necessarily understand, and that's how important good level design is. This is a game where you're going to have a tank on the map at all times, so every map is built in a way where every normal-sized human can navigate it just fine, but there's also wide spaces for the tanks to cut through, small walls for your soldiers to hide behind, holes in the walls maybe for them to shoot through, covers, things like that. It's perfect. It's built for the game in such a perfect, genius way. I love what this game does with weather conditions, for instance, sandstorms, right? So every other turn a sandstorm is active, so you can move through it, and you're trying to move during those turns where there's a sandstorm active so that you can avoid the sniper's gaze. It's things like that, strategy like that, that really engages me and really makes me appreciate this game. And I don't know what it is about games like this and Fire Emblem that are about war that just makes me feel so cozy, the storybook sort of feel of this game just makes me feel warm inside, makes me feel at home, makes me want to snuggle up around a fireplace and drink some hot chocolate while playing this game. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I really like this game for dumb sentimental reasons like that. I like the system where you level up classes rather than specific units. It really adds to the strategy outside of the combat. Just picking which classes you want to spend points on and which you don't. I think it really adds to the experience of the game. I don't feel the need to tell you to play Valkyria Chronicles, because look, this game came out in 2008. Odds are if you were going to play it, you already have. But I can't recommend it enough. It's a great game, and I'm looking forward to playing the rest of the series at some point. At this point, I don't feel like I have to explain to you how big of a Monster Hunter fan I am, or why I like this game as much as I do, but that's the deal, so I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation. Rise was my most played game of 2021 by a long shot, and why is that? Well, because it's very easy to just have hours melt away while you're playing Monster Hunter Rise. This is the Monster Hunter game to play if you just want to hunt. If you just want to go on hunts, there's a minimal grind, items are easy to get, armors are easy to get, weapons are easy to get, all of the hunts go by super quickly because you have all of these quality of life changes and all these crazy powers because of the wire bugs, and you can get everywhere super quickly with palamutes, and everything is just super quick in this game. And that's a good and a bad thing, but I definitely lean more to the good side as far as my opinions on it go. Do I miss the longer hunts and the grinding, and do I hope that some of that is back in Sunbreak? Yes, I do. But for now, Rise is the most just fun, straightforward, arcadey Monster Hunter game that you could ask for. And personally, I love it. I think it's great. This was also the first time I was able to get a bunch of my friends to try out Monster Hunter, and if you're watching this video, you know who you are, and those hunts I had with you, I wouldn't trade them for the world, and I look forward to even more when Sunbreak arrives. I have something to admit. See, before the year 2021, the only Resident Evil game I'd ever played was RE4.
Hey, it's that dog.
While that game is great and super fun, it's kinda like what Susie the Seer Hunter said in her most recent video, right? While the first 3 Resident Evil games are survival horror games, Resident Evil 4 is just an action-adventure game with horror aesthetics. So Resident Evil 2 Remake was my first time playing a proper horror Resident Evil game. And all I can really say is that this game is immaculate. I'm not usually someone who gets scared of games or movies or anything like that, but this game really stresses me out in a clever way. This game consistently puts you in situations where, you have limited storage space, you're running out of room, you want to take this item, you have to make a decision quick, but what do you discard? And also now I'm in this hallway, this tight hallway where nothing's there except for me and a zombie, but I have limited ammo and I don't want to risk wasting it on this zombie, so what do? It just puts you in these situations where you have to make lightning fast decisions, and ultimately it really stresses me out. I think this game is really scary. It's a masterclass in this genre because it understands that the way to frighten people isn't just with cheap jump scares, but with engaging, investing gameplay that ultimately, frightens you at every turn as you see something that possibly could impede your progress or make things more difficult for you going forward, as well as just the general, body horror, zombies, things like that. It's scary. Alright, that's it guys. No other games to talk about. That's it. That's the end. Metroid Dread. The only Metroid games I've ever played are 2D ones, specifically Metroid, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Metroid Zero Mission. So playing Dread for the first time is like, I don't know, returning to an old friend. Except this old friend happened to hit the weights, hit the gym after Fusion. This game is tough, and it will beat your ass if you're not careful. I learned that the hard way, and then I learned it the hard way again, and then I learned it the hard way again. At multiple points during the game, I was fighting bosses, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh my god, there's no way I'm supposed to be fighting this thing right now, because he's just destroying me. Like, there's no way that I'm supposed to be here. But there was this one tip that I saw on the loading screen, and it really stuck with me. And it said, no attack in the game is unavoidable. And that's when I realized, oh, this has nothing to do with whether or not I'm supposed to be here. I just have to get good. I just have to start avoiding these moves. And then I did get good. And then, this started to become one of my favorite games ever. Every boss in the game challenges you. Every enemy encounter challenges you. This is a game that challenges you constantly. Even small enemies have killed me before, and I was, completely baffled. And then I realized, okay, I just gotta get good. If you pick up Dread, I promise, this isn't the hardest game in the world. You can do it. You can become one of us, become one of the Metroid Dread enjoyers, so to speak. Thanks for watching. I wanted to talk about all of these games a little bit more, but, I was trying to stay within a certain time frame, so if you want me to talk about any of these games more in depth, feel free to let me know and I may make a video about them. But thanks for watching.